Tomato flower.
How was y'all show just now? It was really awesome from my point.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was honestly a really good sounding room. The atmosphere was great. We played with our friends from Baltimore, Maryland,
Cool.
the greatest city on earth.
Awesome. That perfectly leads into my next question. I was going to ask about you guys are from Baltimore, which is kind of like a city of jazz. Has that influenced your music?
Uh, I guess I'm the jazz head. It does. I think it influences the way we play with each other and like the way that we write. We're trying to pull from a lot of different sources. So like our chord changes and maybe some of the rhythms have a jazz kind of feel. But then the way that like we're playing live, there's a lot of growth in what we're doing. So it's always kind of changing a little bit. So that's really coming from a jazz. Yeah, elements of like improv. So that's kind of a jazz tradition.
Awesome. I definitely heard the jazz influence in your music. You guys just released an album. Congrats on that. I wanted to ask what the title means now.
So, on one level, it's just something that we say in our songs a lot. Like, there are even songs not on the album, or even songs we've had for separate projects where just like the word no will come up. It's just
Okay.
like a word that happens. But then also, I think we were interested in negation, like the idea of critical negativity
Yeah,
as a kind of unifying principle of how the music was organized.
that's really interesting. Critical negativity, like in terms of like journalism.
In terms of no critical, just more in the sense of like a critical orientation toward the world,
Oh,
like
okay.
saying no to the parts of the world that you want to say no to.
A hermeneutics of suspicion, if you will.
Okay, that's really interesting. Is there anything in particular that you guys are saying no to on this record?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, one I would say like I mean it's definitely about things ending.
Yeah.
So like there are particular like things ending, death in a couple of songs. Like so there's like negation in a very abstract and big sense
Okay.
is something that's I guess we're saying no to.
I think also our first EPs were sort of people talked about them as sort of like very utopian and like so a sort of optimism was really baked into their reception. So we were interested in maybe like exploring well what would our music look like if we didn't lean into that aspect.
That's really interesting. I love when albums have like a unifying, not necessarily like a theme or a concept, but it's like exploring ideas. Yeah. Speaking of the album, I really love the song Temple of the Mind. I wanted to ask, there's like a sound in that song that is very unconventional, I would say. Like, it reminds me of your song Truth Lounge,
Oh yeah.
and it almost reminds me of like a theremin kind of
Yeah.
sound. I wanted to ask how you guys did that.
Well, it's the same synth patch. So, although I use a new synthesizer now, so now it sounds slightly different. But I forget what it's like a clarinet and something else. It was originally a dual on the DX, but it's just sort of that kind of heavy portamento sound. So, like on Truth Lounge, I often hit like a really low note before hitting the actual melody of the keyboard, so that there's sort of like a sweep up at the beginning of that song. And yeah, Tumble the Mind is also playing with the portamento. So.
Cool. I really love that sound. I think it adds so much to the song. You guys are all like authors, visual artists. Like you all have, I think, explored various types of creative mediums. I wanted to ask how that affects your work with tomato flower.
Y'all should take that.
Um, well, I write fiction also, I would say. That's sort of my other main thing. And I think that sometimes the lyrics interplay, but it often feels like a very different headspace. I feel like music is something I do socially, and like I feel really lucky to play with such a talented group. And it's a very kind of extroverted part of my life, whereas like writing is more introverted, obviously, and I have total control over it. Whereas like we make these sounds together. So I think that like for me it's sort of a flight from one to another. Like once I'm really sick of music, I'll write for a while and then vice versa. Um, and the name Tomato Flower comes from a piece of writing I was working on. So that's kind of a little piece of trivia.
You got an answer for this? I think like exploring a lot of different stuff and like learning from a lot of different disciplines and domains like really helps with what we're doing. For me, they're all integrated. Like if like playing different instruments, like we all play different instruments, but also like doing visual art and like other kinds of art and like all different kinds of culture and stuff. Like the more I connect all of those things in my head, like the easier it is to do that. So it all just feels like one creative process that whatever I like set my sights on making, I'm just following through on that same kind of process.
Does it kind of like bring the whole band into your solo work as well in a way, since you guys are all collaborating?
I think yeah, they're feeding off of each other. I think we're all bouncing ideas off of each other and listening to what we're doing and being inspired by what each other's doing all the time in all different kinds of configurations.
That's awesome. I saw your single art and your merch and your tour poster all have really cool visual designs. And I saw that some of them were made by people outside the band. How do you guys go about choosing the artists to collaborate with for you guys have a very specific visual style, I think.
Yeah, I've done some of them, and it's mostly just been out of necessity. Like, we need a T-shirt design. And I really enjoy doing it for the band. But then for the stuff that we have, we had Hayden Wright do one of our videos. We had Patrick David do another one of our videos for this album cycle. We had Bree Galan do some of our single art. And I think that a lot of it is just our friends in Baltimore. And I think that we've taken an attitude of wanting to, sort of, insofar as like Tomato Flower has any reach outside of Baltimore, like take our other friends who are talented artists like along kind of with us.
That's super cool. I think you guys have a very developed visual style and then developed sound. It's cool that you can bring in other people and then your other mediums all to be like more than just like a band. And my last question is just, do you guys have anything you want to promote? You're on tour right now with Baby Baby Explorers, right?
Yes, yeah, we're on tour with Baby Baby Explorers. We have I think 10 more days with them.
Awesome.
And then nothing to promote except the album. Just I would love if people listen to the album. Oh yeah, okay.
Mike says we do have things to.
Yeah, we have to thank Power Washer for getting us on this show, so that's great. And thank you to everybody in Baltimore. And Eric plays in a sick band back home too, so you got to give it up for Bubble Wand.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you got to rep the shirt and rep everybody in Baltimore and all our friends that are making great music and doing great art. So we're really stoked on all of that. Give it up, man. Go.
No, I was just saying I feel selfish for my
Anything about the other tour coming up?
No.
We can't
No.
yet. We can't yet.
Anything else is under an NDA.
Yeah, we're gonna announce stuff later.
Nice. And you guys are Tomato Flower on Spotify. Is it Tomato Flower on Instagram?
Yep.
Tomato.flower on Instagram. But if you just look up Tomato Flower, it's yeah.
And we're Austin Underground on Instagram, austinunderground.org. Make sure to check us out, check out their new album, and see you guys next time.
Thank you.